On October 8th, 1969, a 78-year-old hunter vanished while hunting with his family near Sparks Lake, Oregon. It's a disappearance that sparked a large search but yielded no trace until the following summer. They found his rifle, clothing, and one boot and glove carefully placed at the base of a tree. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine-chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hi, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm your host, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Sorry, I might be having some microphone issues, and I'm not going to edit this out. So sorry. The last time I talked to you was last Wednesday, and I actually was on my way home from Kanab, Utah. I went down to St. George. First of all, I was on spring break last week, the perks of working in a public school. And then I did some really cool hiking. I hiked to a really cool cave and some Anasazi petroglyphs. And then I actually did something I've never done before. I had to go on a guided tour for a hike. Now, it's not the hike that was actually scary or I needed guidance on. It was actually a very easy hike. But to get out there, it's like 30 miles on a dirt road, super rough dirt road, and in deep sand, like 15 miles of deep sand. And my little cross trek would not have made it out there. And so I actually paid money to go with a tour company slash a guide. And they're not paying me to say this, but if you are ever in the Kanab or Page area and you want to do some guided hikes or adventures, I highly recommend Dreamland Safaris. That's who I went with, and our guide was amazing. He knew everything about the rocks and just everything. I mean, we stopped and saw some California condors, and it was really cool. So I actually did a hike called White Pocket. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's very popular. It's been on my list for literally 6 years since I moved out west, and it was really beautiful. I mean, it was so pretty. The weather, it was so windy, so I mean, I had a thin layer of sand in my ears and on my scalp and on my face and everywhere, but it was beautiful, beautiful area. So I had a lot of fun in Page, in the Vermilion Cliffs National Recreation Area. And yeah, it was great. So if you ever want to visit White Pocket or they have other tours and stuff like that. Highly recommend Dreamland Safaris. It was new to me. Like, I asked my guide, I'm like, "Do you have to babysit me?" And he's just like, "No, it's fine." Because I didn't need someone to watch me out there. I just needed someone to drive me out there. So, had a great experience with them. So shout out to Dreamland Safaris. My spring break was awesome. Did some hiking. Today, it's Easter Sunday today, but I don't celebrate Easter. So I actually spent the day gardening, prepping my garden. I went on a hike with a friend in the foothills of the Wasatch. And yeah, I mean, it's been a really nice day. So I hope that if you celebrate Easter, that you had a happy Easter. And I'm so glad that you're joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode might be a little short because honestly, there's not a lot to this case. Um, it's just one of those mysterious cases that hasn't gotten a lot of follow-up, and because of the time, it was 1969, I mean, they really did not investigate, a missing hunter like they would maybe today, and so, there's not a lot of information about this case online, but I did find some interesting things online, pretty recently, but this is just one of those mysterious disappearances. So, first, I'm going to start with my land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands now known as Deschutes National Forest are the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have lived with and cared for this region for thousands of years. This includes the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, as well as the Klamath, Wasco, and Northern Paiute peoples, whose cultures, traditions, and histories are deeply connected to those forests, rivers, and volcanic landscapes. We honor their enduring relationship with this land and recognize their continued presence, sovereignty, and stewardship. Okay, so today's case takes place in the Deschutes National Forest. And this is a national forest located in central Oregon in parts of Deschutes, Klamath, Lake, and Jefferson counties. Now, this national forest was established in 1908 with border changes following in 1911 and 1915. The forest now encompasses almost 1.6 million acres along the east side of the Cascade Range. I have done some hiking in this area. I used to live in Southern Oregon, and so I have hiked in this national forest before. And guys, if you've never been to Oregon for hiking, highly suggest it. It is one of the most beautiful states that I've ever been to. So, an interesting fact about this place is that from 1964 to 1966, NASA used the park's Newberry volcano as a training location for the Apollo astronauts. In 1990, the area around the volcano was designated as a national monument, and its name is Newberry National Volcanic Monument. This national forest also has 6 national wild and scenic rivers and, the Oregon Cascade Recreation Area. And there are 5 wildernesses within this national forest, and those include the Mount Jefferson Wilderness, Mount Washington Wilderness, Three Sisters Wilderness, Diamond Peak Wilderness, and Mount Thielsen Wilderness. And I've actually done most of my hiking in Mount Thielsen Wilderness and Diamond Peak Wilderness. The forest contains over 400 caves, which I wanted to include because I think that's a possibility when we talk about theories later on. The Newberry volcano area contains cinder cones, lava flows, and lava tubes. So it is heavily forested, but also there's a lot going on underground. The highest point in this forest is Paulina Peak, and it's located south of Paulina Lake with, within the Newberry National Volcanic Monument. Say that 5 times fast. There's a ton of recreation activities that you could partake in that include boating, fishing, wildlife watching, and hiking, as well as mountain biking. There's an extensive trail system here. Hiking and skiing can be done on Mount Bachelor, which is a stratovolcano in the Cascade Range. It's very popular for hiking. So, specifically within this national forest, we're talking about Sparks Lake. Now, the lake is about 26 miles or 42 kilometers west southwest of Bend, so if you know where Bend is, it's west southwest of that, and it is located along the Cascade Lake Scenic Byway. A very pretty area. I've never been to this specific lake, but there are so many lakes, in this area that, I mean, you really can't see them all. I only lived in Oregon for a year for a travel, healthcare contract, and it was not enough time to explore the whole state, so a lot to see and do in Oregon. Now, this lake was named for a 19th century rancher. His last name was Sparks, and so that's why they named it. And the body of water, it's actually a remnant of a bigger lake that has partly filled with sediment and vegetation. So it used to be much larger, and now it's smaller, but still a beautiful lake. The United States Forest Service maintains a boat launch at Sparks Lake, and the site has a parking area, a lake trail, and dispersed camping at locations accessible by boat. So if you want to camp at this lake, you have to have a boat. A more formal campground run by the Forest Service is nearby along Soda Creek. So you have a couple of camping opportunities, but if you want to camp at the lake, it's a little bit more remote to get to unless you want to camp along Soda Creek. Sparks Lake supports populations of brook trout and stocked cutthroat trout. Fly fishing is the only kind of angling allowed on the lake. Motor boats may be used for transportation, but fishing is allowed from them only when their motors are turned off. there are approximately 370 acres of lake wetland that surround this area. So there's a lot of meadows, marshes, and stream wetlands. So it is very like boggy-ish. So, I saw this caution online and I want to read it. So it says, "Caution, move cautiously in the meadow's tall grass to avoid narrow, concealed water channels. Cold water and deep holes in these beaver highways can make for a frigid or injurious plunge. Mosquitoes and biting flies are abundant in early summer, so bring repellent." So now I want to jump into the case. Obviously, like what I said earlier, there's not a lot about this online because of how old it is. And I mean, there was a search and everything we'll get into, but really it's a honestly, this is one of the cases that I've seen online that just is so perplexing. And let's talk about it. So, it's October 1969 in Oregon. I can't even imagine what how totally different Oregon was back then. Um, I'm sure it's so much different than what Oregonians know now, and it was pretty wild back then. It's still very wild, but I'm sure it was even wilder way back then. So the Winters family had planned to go on a hunting trip, and this is something that they regularly all did together. They were a family of hunters, and they did it quite frequently. So this was not something that they were inexperienced at. Now, this party consisted of 78-year-old Robert and his sons, Charles, George, and Alvin. So, four men, a dad, and three sons. Now, they had hunted in Oregon on an annual trip for over 20 years. They were super experienced. And they had decided to hunt in this area because snowfall at higher altitudes would have made it difficult to find animals. So, it is October, it's early October. And if you live in the Mountain West, you know that usually, first weekend of October, first week, there's snow in the higher elevations. It's like that in New Mexico, it's like that in Utah, it's like that in Oregon, it's like that in Colorado. And so they would not have had much luck at higher elevations because of the snow. And not to mention, animals would have been scarce, but also it's much harder to trudge through feet of snow and post hole. I mean, you're just post holing when you're doing that. So they decided they were gonna hunt around Sparks Lake. And they were hunting not like, on the lake, obviously, but in the area around. And the area is actually south of Broken Top Mountain and north of Mount Bachelor. So it's pretty remote. But this is an area that they knew, this wasn't like the place they always went, but it was a place that they had been before. Now, hunting near Sparks Lake, Oregon offers opportunities for big game like mule deer, Rocky Mountain elk, and black bear, along with predators such as cougars and coyotes in the surrounding Cascade Mountains. None of the articles that I found online said exactly what kind of game the Winters men were going to hunt, but I'm assuming deer or elk. Black bear, I don't know about Oregon, but in Arkansas, there's a very specific season for black bear. Like I said, I'm not sure about Oregon, and I don't see them wanting to hunt cougars and coyotes, so I'm just going with Occam's razor here and saying that they were probably going to hunt deer. Now, they set out to hunt, and Robert, who is the person that went missing, he was last seen at around 11 a.m. on October 9th, 1969. He had actually left his family to start hunting. So, this is totally normal. He's done it a ton. He's 78. He's very experienced in the outdoors. And he failed to show back up at the camp as darkness fell that day. So, he headed out and didn't come back. As it became dark, heavy snow started falling, and it was actually around 1.5 feet or 46 centimeters of snow that fell in the 24 hours after he disappeared. So, not good, not good at all. That makes searching hard, and it definitely makes survival even harder for a 78-year-old, possibly injured in the wilderness. Now, the family contacted the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office to report him missing, and around 60 people joined in the search and rescue efforts. Now, with the search, a helicopter was deployed and tracks were spotted nearby at Soda Creek, around 7,100 meters high. So basically, about 2,000 meters higher than Sparks Lake is located. So they saw tracks, they thought maybe Robert left these. However, no sign of Robert or his equipment was found during the extensive search. So here are a few questions that I have. Um, I don't know if his sons went out with him or not. That was not in any of the source material, and there's like 3 articles in the entirety of online about this case. So I don't think that he went with his sons. It didn't say, but I would assume that a 78-year-old would not go out without his sons that he specifically went hunting with. So not sure. That's a question I have. I don't know, and I can't answer that for any of you wondering. But he went out at 11 AM, night started to fall, and he didn't come back. So they did a search, but it's snowing, and it snowed a lot. They saw tracks, no sign of him was located. It doesn't say how many acres they searched or how long the search went on. I'm assuming it went on for a few days until they decided that he probably wasn't able to survive past a certain time. That's pretty typical in a lot of missing persons cases in the wilderness. But fast forward a year, the following summer, someone named Dr. Jack Crosby, who was a doctor, he was actually like on vacation and he was hiking in the area. And he actually came across some items near Soda Creek, just below the tree line, kind of near where the footsteps had been seen on an aerial search. He reported his find to the sheriff, and there was a search, and after 3 days, they found items. This says there was a detailed investigation by the sheriff's department, and the only things found in this area were Robert's deer rifle that was placed against a tree, like he had set it down and was coming back. His clothes were found at the base of the tree, and the clothes included um, one boot, one glove, and his glasses. And that is so bizarre. There were no remains found in the area. There was no blood on the clothes, and it looked like the clothes had been carefully removed and folded and put there because they were not shredded by an animal and there was no blood on them. So it's not like, well, animal attack, they're scattered clothing. No, it looked like they had been carefully removed and placed at the base of the tree, along with one boot, one glove, his glasses, and his rifle. Now, deputies Mel Newhouse and Norman Thrasher, they both were investigators as a part of the team, and they investigated this discovery. And they described the scene as, quote, very odd, as not one bone was ever recovered despite a detailed search. Now, that's pretty much the end of this case, like online. There's really nothing else except for this 70-year-old man who was an experienced hunter went out, didn't come back. Nothing was found until a year later, and what was found was very bizarre. Like I said, his rifle was placed against a tree, his clothes were found at the base of the tree, his glasses, one boot, and one glove. So, literally not even all of his clothing. Now, I did see theories online that were like, "This is paradoxical undressing," and I'm not gonna say it's not because I really don't know, but I just don't know if you're, like, so hypothermic that you're gonna undress yourself. I mean, that is, like, almost end stages of hypothermia. So why not take off both shoes? Like, why not? Why not take off both gloves? Why would you only leave one on? I know that there is confusion and disorientation that is associated with hypothermia, but I don't know, I just think it's so weird, and also what sticks out to me is that these tracks were found. It doesn't say exactly when they were found, but it was during the search, and it had to have been after snow had fallen, because that's the only way in my mind that they're gonna see tracks from an aerial search. Um, I just don't know, it's just so bizarre because there's not a lot of details in any of this. There's a lot of questions. I have more questions than answers, and I'm sure you feel the same way. But basically, he went missing and his stuff is found, but it's found like it was taken off, set down, and then he just vanished into the wilderness. Now, I do want to bring up that this national forest has over 400 caves and lava tubes. So I don't know specifically if there were any caves in this area, but I can see this is a possibility. He might have been very hypothermic and taken off his clothes in paradoxical undressing. And then he might have just started wandering into the wilderness further away from where people were looking for him because he's disoriented. And he might have found a cave and decided to hunker down in it to maybe stay warm or die. And they just haven't found his body yet. That's my theory. I really don't know. So I went online and there was a posting about this disappearance on a missing persons page. And there were some comments. And so this one person commented and she was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And someone commented and she said, "No, thank you for sending it. I certainly remembered when this happened. The general family thought that he got disoriented with the snow and couldn't find his way back to camp. He was your great grandpa Winter's brother and used to visit the farm frequently. Hunting was what he loved more than anything, and family took solace feeling that at least he died doing what he loved most." So this is a Facebook this person might not be related. I think this is a little bit more reliable than Reddit, because this interaction took place between 2 women, and I just found it fascinating to kind of see someone that knew him, that knew Robert, and was actually like family. I mean, he not like anything close, but great grandpa. He was great grandpa's brother. So I just think I don't know. I just love whenever I find family members that have something to say about a missing persons case because it's really hard to find that with cases as old as this. And so I guess that's what the family thought, like, that he loved hunting and they take solace, they I don't know how to pronounce it. Just ignore me today. I'm sorry. I'm recording this late at night. I'm tired. They take solace knowing that he died doing what he loved most. So apparently, the immediate family does think that he is dead out there and perished while on this hunting trip. And I'd have to say, I think that's my theory too. Like, I already told you my theory. I just find it so bizarre and fascinating. And I really wish there were more online about this case because it's just really sad. It's like, yes, he was old, but his family still deserves answers, and it's been how many years? Let me do some math real quick. What year are we in? 2026? As I said, guys, I'm sorry, it's late, I'm tired, this is not my best work, but you know what? I'm still gonna put it out there, 1969. It's been 57 years since he went missing, and no other evidence has been found. They have not found any bone fragments, they have not found a skull, they have not found his boot, they haven't found anything, and it's really sad, and honestly, it's really sad for the family because he still had life left to live, and I'm sure that the family it's just one of those, like I can't even imagine how a family member goes missing 57 years ago, and it's this, like, deep wound in your family, and people might talk about it or they might not, and so I can't even imagine the pain and the just, like just the hope that they still have that something will be found, and hope is great, but also they don't have answers, and so there's always this lingering wondering happening, and so I really hope that his family what's left of his family now gets answers sometime. I mean, it's almost 60 years and nothing has been found of Robert. Now, Robert Winters was 78 years old. He was experienced, capable, and surrounded by his own sons when he stepped into the Oregon wilderness near Sparks Lake in 1969. And yet, in what should have been a routine hunting trip, he vanished without a trace. Searchers combed the area, snow fell, time passed, and months later, what little was found didn't answer questions. It really deepened them. A single boot, a glove, his glasses, and items that didn't look lost, but placed there. No body has ever been recovered. There's been no clear explanation ever found, just fragments and a silence that has never made sense. Cases like this linger because they defy the rules we expect the wilderness to follow. People just don't disappear within minutes or hours. Evidence simply doesn't just stop. And sometimes in cases like Robert's, it does. So if you find yourself deep in the woods, in a place that feels quiet in a way that's too quiet, remember some stories don't end, some trails don't lead back, and sometimes the forest keeps what it takes. As always, recreate responsibly and remember sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, it's me again. Yeah, sorry about this. I'm so tired. I had a wonderful spring break, and I had a great day, but man, when I'm home too much, I find things to do, like painting my front door and ripping out stuff from my basement and painting and working in my garden, making it a bigger garden. So I'm sorry, I'm like super tired. I might not have been so energetic this episode, but I really do appreciate you listening today. Um, I have been thinking, I read a book over spring break, and so I'm not sure where the podcast, what the future is going to be. I have recently taken down my Patreon. It was just a little too much for me to keep up because I do work a full time job and this is just like a passion project. And it's starting to feel a little like work, which it is work. It is work to read all of these things and put together the episodes. But I don't know. I need to decide if Morbid Outdoors will continue or if it's time for me to say goodbye. I really don't know. So I'm gonna think on it for, weeks more. Because I enjoy doing it and I enjoy connecting with you all. But it is difficult to keep this up on top of a full-time job and other things that I do in my personal life. So I don't know, we'll see. I'd love to get your feedback. I don't know if any of you have started something that you hoped would be something and it turns out maybe that wasn't the path you were meant to take. This past spring break has got me thinking about a lot of things, like creative endeavors. I started a project last summer and I really enjoy it. And I want to get back to it, but it's also time consuming. And, we all only have 24 hours in a day. And so, yeah, I just got to do some thinking and discerning and seeing what I'm going to do next. I really appreciate all your support. And I hope that you guys are having a great start to spring. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I don't know. I just really like talking to you guys and seeing comments on social media and connecting with you on social media. And if you want to follow my personal account on Instagram, I'm most active on there. And I will link my username in the show notes if you want to follow me. I post mostly outdoors things that I do, hiking, and things like that. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. Find something to do something for yourself. Find time, I mean, to do something for yourself. You're an amazing person. The world needs you, and I'm so happy that you're here. So, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next Wednesday with a case that is spooky, but it's also pretty popular. So I'm not going to go into too many details on it because it is a well known case, but there have been recent developments that are borderline like have to do with the supernatural. So I will see you guys next week for that episode and have a great rest of your week. Bye.